Welcome to the Reinvent Yourself Masterclass. I'm your instructor, Katrina Lee, and today we're going to talk about standards and why they are the next piece of the puzzle in designing a successful reinvention. Standards are necessary because if you're still living by the same standards that created the life you were trying to leave behind, nothing will truly change with your reinvention. You can try really hard and you can stay motivated and you can feel like you're doing all the right things, but without new standards, you will never see the results you want. You will keep running into the same problems, you'll keep having the same patterns, and the same disappointments and outcomes. And that's because your reinvention doesn't fall apart when you stop trying. It falls apart when your standards never change. Without any new standards, your reinvention never fully takes hold because you will continuously be an old version of yourself. I know this because I spent 5 years on this journey, and I learned the hard way that when you don't raise your standards, you don't raise yourself. When I went on this journey, no matter how hard I tried, how hard I worked on myself to heal, to become better, and to improve who I was, I just couldn't fully grasp it. I kept having the same experiences, I kept having the same results, the same outcomes, and that was because I didn't raise my standards, which is what I don't want for you. And why today I'm going to make sure you become successful with your reinvention by creating higher standards for yourself so you don't keep reverting back to an old version of yourself. So today I want to do 3 things. First, I'm going to clearly explain what standards actually are and how they shape your life. Second, I'll show you why your current standards are holding back your reinvention. And third, I'll walk you through how to create new high-quality standards that support the woman you're becoming, not the version of you you've outgrown. Standards are not goals, they're not a wish list, and they're not things you hope to achieve one day. Standards are the baseline that you live from. They are shaped by your values, the same values that we did in episode 3. And those values, they define what matters to you. And then your standards define what you allow from those values. If you value self-respect, your standards then determine what you tolerate. If you value growth, your standards then determine how you show up when things get uncomfortable. If you value peace, then your standards determine what you stay in and what you walk away from. Your life doesn't reflect what you say you value. It reflects the standards you consistently uphold. And that's why standards matter so much in your reinvention. Reinvention isn't just about deciding to change. It's about changing how you operate and making sure you don't fall back into the past you. That's where standards matter. Standards reduce decision making. When your standards are clear, you're not constantly negotiating with yourself. You already know what's acceptable and what isn't. That removes the hesitation, that removes the excuses, and that removes the back and forth thinking because it becomes automatic. Standards also create consistency. You don't rely on your mood, discipline, or willpower with standards. You just show up the same way on good days and hard days because your baseline doesn't change. Standards also protect your new identity. When you're reinventing yourself, your old habits, patterns, and environments will try to pull you back. But standards, they act as a filter. They stop you from defaulting to the version of yourself you've outgrown. And finally, standards, they turn your intention into behavior. Wanting more for yourself isn't enough. Standards translate that desire into action by setting clear rules to how you live, choose, and respond in life. Without standards, your reinvention can easily be torn apart. But with standards, it becomes stable and whole. That's why standards aren't optional on this journey. It's necessary. It's your foundation for your reinvention. If this is making sense for you and you're starting to see how much your standards shape your daily life, I want you to join my Reinvention newsletter. That's where I go deeper into how standards actually play out in real life and how I use it in my own. And you'll also get practical insight on how to raise your standards without burning out, how to stop negotiating with yourself when it gets uncomfortable and hard, and how to stay aligned with the woman you're becoming even when your motivation fades. I share all this only through the newsletter, not on social media or anywhere else. So if you want that information and you want that support, I invite you to join a newsletter. That link is in the comment below or in the description box. Now that I've explained what standards are and why they matter in the reinvention process, it's time to create them. Creating standards means deciding ahead of time how you will live, how you will show up, and what you will no longer accept from yourself and from others. It's not about changing everything at once. It's about intentionally raising the baseline you live by. If your baseline stays the same, you stay the same. But if you want to reinvent yourself, that baseline has to rise so you can stop feeding into an old version of you. So in this section, we're not focusing on what you want for your life. We're focusing on what you're willing to require of yourself moving forward. That's what allows your reinvention to actually become successful.
Welcome to the training portion of this video. In this section, I'll show you how to create standards that support your reinvention and the new identity you're creating. Before we begin, I want you to download the worksheet in the pinned comment below. Click that link, enter your email address, and then you'll see the download link. Download that worksheet, and when you have it opened, create a copy in your Google Drive before you start working. So I have the worksheet pulled up, and you'll see that to your left, you have two tabs. You have the worksheet itself, and that's for you to work on. And then you have an example below that I created for you should you have any trouble or questions when you're working on your own worksheet. You'll have a detailed explanation and something to reference if you are coming across any challenges. So we're going to look at the example that I created for you guys. So there are 4 steps in this worksheet. There is step 1, choose the values that will shape your new identity. You have step 2, you are going to identify the old standards that have kept you stuck. You have step 3, where you're going to create the new standards for the woman you're becoming. And then you have step 4, where you're going to create an action plan for your reinvention and your new identity. So in step 1, you're going to list the 5 values, your 5 core values that will shape your new identity and help with your reinvention. And you've already done this in episode 3 and worksheet 3, designing the vision. So if you haven't done that yet, you need to look at episode 3 and work on that worksheet before you do this one. You're going to pull those 5 values from that worksheet and copy and paste here, or you can just write it down again. But the 5 values that I've listed for myself is self-respect, integrity, emotional safety, consistency, and honesty. Those are my 5 values. And after I have the 5 values, I'm going to move over to step 2. You have 5 boxes, and each box will have its own value. So for the first box, I have my value of self-respect. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to list at least 3 standards that I've been doing or that I was doing that kept me as that old version of myself, the version I no longer want to be. I'm going to list 3 standards. And when I did this, I listed things like I accepted inconsistency in relationships. I over-explained myself to be understood, and I stayed in situations that drained my self-worth. Those were my old standards for self-respect. After listing the 3 standards, I move over to my new standards for that same value. What are new standards I want for myself? What standards do I want to uphold that will help me with my new identity? And those values are, I expect consistency, respect, and follow through. I no longer explain myself or negotiate my boundaries. I remove myself from anything that compromises my worth. Those are the standards I have for myself for that value of self-respect. So that's how you do section 2 and 3. You're going to list each value and then list the 3 standards that you've been living by that just no longer represents your new identity, no longer helps, no longer makes sense, no longer supports who you are. You're going to list it under each value, and then you're going to move over to this to the right, and then write the new standards that you want for yourself. So there are two ways you can do this. You can either just do all of step 2 and then move over to step 3, or you can go back and forth. If that works better for you, if that's how your mind operates, that's fine too. Where you list your old standards and then you move over and list your new standards and then go back and forth and do the same thing. But after you list all your standards from step 2 and then step 3, you're going to go step 4 and you're going to create an action plan. The last step of each worksheet is the most important of all, because the last step of every worksheet that I give you implements what you learn and actually forces you, makes you those things in your real life. There is no point in just writing things down and having a plan on paper. It may look pretty and it's nice to look at, but if you're not actually doing something with it, this entire masterclass and all the worksheets I give you, there is no point to it. That's why in every worksheet that I give you, you're going to have to insert these things into your real life and start doing something with them. So that's what we have step 4 for. So in step 4, you're going to look at each box from step 3. And in each box, you're going to just pick one standard from that one box that you can do right now. So in the box 1 from step 4, the first standard that I chose is I'm going to expect consistency, respect, and follow through. And so I added here. This is the standard I'm going to choose. And then I'm going to create an action plan that I can do every single day, that I can start right now. I said that today I will complete the task I committed to without negotiating with myself, procrastinating, or waiting to feel ready. I wrote down another action plan where I said I will follow through on at least one promise I've made to myself, even if it feels uncomfortable or inconvenient. And the third is if resistance shows up, I will act anyway, because consistency is proven through action, not intention. So you can write 1, you can have 2, 3, 4, as many as you want. And then once you have your action plan, just start implementing them every single day. Just start doing them. So for example, if I was to implement this today, after writing my 1 standard, I expect consistency and follow through. I'm going to choose 1 item from the action plan and just start doing it today. And then tomorrow, I'll go down to the second box and I'll choose an action plan from that box. I'll choose a standard from the third box and then choose an action plan from that box and implement it that day, and so on and so forth. So that's how you can do it. You can pick a new standard every single day for 5 days and then implement a daily action for that 1 standard. Or if you feel like you need more time, then choose 1 standard for the week and then 1 item from the action plan and do it for that entire week. And then once that week is over, choose another standard and then another item from the action plan and do it for that whole week. This practice is really based on what you need and on your own timeline. That's why I said from the very beginning, don't have a deadline for yourself, because based on the responsibilities you have, based on the lifestyle, based on the amount of work that you need, what you're going to do is going to look different from what someone's going to do. So you get to determine the timeline of your journey. If you can do it in 5 days, go for it. If you can do it in 5 weeks, go for it. If you can only do it once a month for 5 months, go for it. It is based on what you can handle and how far you can push yourself. If you're pushing yourself so hard where you're going to burn out, don't do that. Take it slow. Spread it out. But if you feel like, yes, I can do this within a certain amount of time, then do it. You are doing this for yourself. You're not doing this for anyone else. So you get to choose how fast, how slow, when things are done based on what you can handle. And I want to remind you guys, it took me 5 years. 5 years to do all of this. So just let that be a reminder if you feel like you're going too slow or you need to push yourself. And that's it. That's all we have. You're going to go through section 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then start implementing these things into your life today. I will see you guys in the next video.